My name is Pat Lynn, and I'm a Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique practitioner in Atlanta, Georgia. The technique I use in my practice was developed by Dolores Cannon and allows a person to discover and access the strong part of who they are to heal themselves and get answers to questions about their life. Many of us call this technique QHHT for short. I love my life here, and I love the QHHT work that I do that transforms people's lives. My life today is something I could have never dreamed of. It wasn't many years ago I was personally in a crisis. I was at a crossroads in my life, and QHHT was the only thing that helped me transform my life into the joyful life I live today. Today, I would like to share with you my story, a story of disappointment, renewal, and how QHHT transformed my life. I was born and raised in Kingman, Arizona, at the time a small, dusty mining and ranching town. My mother was a Wallapai Indian who had 6 children by 5 different fathers. Unfortunately, she was unable to care for us, and we were all put up for adoption. My adopted parents were good, hardworking Mormons who ranched and owned businesses in the Kingman area. Kingman is about 90 miles south of the exciting city of Las Vegas inside the Arizona border, but it was thousands of miles away from anywhere I wanted to be. As a young man, I was constantly in the library, looking at maps and reading about places in the world that I wanted to go and see. At 18 years old, I would meet my then future wife in Kingman, and we would marry. We would eventually move to Phoenix, where there were better jobs. We were practicing Mormons. I became an elder in the church. And by the time I was 25, I had 5 children and was just beginning my career with UPS. I started as a UPS driver and would eventually work in UPS's corporate offices in Greenwich, Connecticut, a wealthy suburb near New York City. At the time of my relocation to Greenwich, I was newly divorced, and this move was a time of great adventure for me. Discovering New York City and the surrounding areas, and a move that would dramatically change my life. UPS was expanding at the time, and because of my job setting up customer call centers, I would travel to most major cities in the world. I met many people and experienced many different cultures. I got to see the US from the outside. I got to see how the other 95% of the world's population lived, and it would change my life and the way I saw the world forever. My career and the places I traveled exceeded any of the dreams I could have ever had as a young man back in Kingman. In the mid-90s, I would lead several project teams in Europe, setting up call centers. One day, my manager asked me what I wanted to do in my career. It was almost automatic, but I blurted out that I wanted to live and work in Europe. Several months later, I would be relocated to Brussels, Belgium, and manage the UPS call centers there with 1,200 employees in different locations throughout Europe. My daughters, who were teenagers by then, would live with me there in a penthouse that overlooked the red tile roofs of Brussels. They would attend a private school, and we would explore Europe together. We traveled first class wherever we went, and it was a wonderful life. At times, this life didn't seem real. I had only dreamed of living a life like this, and now I was really living it. Eventually, after several years, my assignment in Europe would end, and my daughters and I would relocate to Atlanta, where UPS's corporate offices had moved. We had a beautiful home on an acre near my office. I had a personal shopper for my clothes. I drove a black Porsche and traveled to the popular cities in the U.S. such as New York, LA, and South Beach. I took advantage of everything the good life had to offer. One part of my lifestyle I hadn't taken into consideration, though, was the financial aspect, and I made many mistakes, the worst being not keeping up with my taxes. It's never a good idea to put off the inevitable, because eventually it will catch up to you. At 50 years old, my dream of the good life would end, and I would be in financial trouble. I was bankrupt and having to repay hundreds of thousands of dollars in back taxes to the IRS. My payments at the time were over $4,000 a month, and I felt awful about myself and the decisions I had made. At one point, I had even considered taking my own life because of the indignity of not having the money and the status I once had. I was living a life now that wasn't a happy one. Somehow, I knew, though, I had to regain my self-respect and renew my belief in myself. I had read most of the self-help books that were out at the time, but nothing made the impact on my life that QHHT did. For a year or so, I had been watching Dolores Cannon's videos and reading her books, and was curious about the hypnosis technique she talked about. At 55, after many years of being unhappy, I decided to have a QHHT session just to see what type of results I would have. One Saturday, I scheduled a session with a practitioner and was excited to see what might happen. Dolores always talked about the powerful beings that we were and how we could create the life we wanted. I wanted to see if a session would allow me to feel that power. During my session, I vividly went to a past life and enjoyed knowing about my past, but the part of the session that I thought was the least interesting became the most important part of the session, and that was the healing. Almost as a side note, I had asked the practitioner to ask my subconscious to heal some emotional issues I had. After my session, I felt different, but I really did not know how. Like many of my clients today, I began to feel relief from my thoughts of guilt and shame. My fear of life was noticeably less, and I could feel it. I felt lighter. I no longer felt the heaviness I once had. Gradually, over several weeks, I knew something significant had changed in my life. I began to realize that my worst enemy in life was me and my perception of myself. In a few months, I began to feel dramatically different and was once again enjoying my work and my life. I had created a story in my mind about myself being unhappy and someone who made a lot of life-changing mistakes. Somehow, through working with my subconscious in my QHHT session, I had uncreated that story. I realized my thoughts and my emotions created my reality. In 2016, without fear, I retired from UPS after 37 years. I did have some apprehensions about early retirement and financially being able to live the life I wanted, but something inside me kept telling me that it would all be okay. I've been practicing QHHT in Atlanta for 4 years. I've traveled anywhere I wanted, lived where I wanted, and I have back everything I thought I had lost. Happiness, money, excitement, wonderful friends and relationships. Each day, it seems like something new presents itself. A resolution to a problem I never thought could be resolved, or a financial opportunity I never thought could happen. Life now is a wonderful, exciting journey. I want to share with you your ability to change your life. Whether you're just wanting to create a better connection with your higher purpose, or if you're in crisis, I can help you. With my life experience and experience as a practitioner over the last 4 years, I can help you see your life differently. We always need to be ready to reinvent ourselves, and I would love to hear from you and help you experience what I've experienced. Until then, I wish you many blessings.